Hello, welcome to What Not to Do on a Character Design Test.
First off is the attention to details. If our character's name is Fashion School Dropout, please name them that and not College Furry. Alright, now let's get into the meat of things. First off, we're going to talk about the shapes. Because animation design is all about them shapes. Because we need to move these shapes across screen, as a designer, please don't use scribbles because that shows a lack in understanding of how animation works. Any animator who's getting these kind of scribbles as a model sheet for their characters are going to be pulling their hairs out if they have to keep on putting those scribbles on a model. Keep in mind that when animation starts, an animator is going to have to draw these characters over and over and over again, over thousands of times. So, shapes over random details. One thing I noticed about this character design is that the hat is not properly sitting on her head. It looks like it's just floating. To fix that, draw through the shapes. Here on my fixes, I would draw out the shapes. Even though this part of her head is not going to be seen, it's still best to draw it out anyways, so when you place in the details, they sit properly on the characters. Alright, let's talk about the main body of this character. The overall end result in this is somewhat flat. In order to prevent this flatness, do some solid underdrawings and show the 3D shapes. 3D shapes. After throwing in the 3D shapes, it is then that you can add in the details, because when you add in the details will wrap around the form, giving characters perspective and showing that they have a volume. There's not a lot of straights and curves in this design, so it comes off as a little unappealing. To fix that, have some straights right here, and counter it with some curves. For this character's 3/4 view, it's helpful to once again draw in the 3D shapes. This is so you can also establish the character's center line, so you would know where to put in the details. Another tip about drawing characters in 3/4 view, you should make one of their foot foreshortened and the other foot in profile. For this particular character, by making the feet design just lines, it makes it simple, however it's lacking in appeal. Since she's a fashion school dropout, shoes are very important. On this character's profile view, she looks like a different person. On her straightforward shot, she has this cute little baby face going for her, but on her profile, she looks like a different character. She has lost a little bit of that baby face cuteness, and the key to getting that is the ratio between forehead and chin. Make the forehead a little bigger and the chin length smaller to get that cute little baby face. For my fix, I actually did a little small cheat and made her eyes a tad smaller. That way she will have more forehead room and also more room for her hat to sit on, because she likes hats. Hats are awesome. Alright, let's move on to her best friend forever, the College Furry. Again, like the Fashion School Dropout, if her name is College Furry, please call her that and not her friend's name. Don't get her friends confused. For this character, she seems to be composed of one big shape, which is fine, but it lacks a bit of versatility and it doesn't say too much about her character. So for my fix for that, I split her off into two shapes. One smaller shape and one bigger shape below. Also notice that I didn't split her in half. Instead, I made her in 1/3 and 2/3. Okay. This split in 1/3 to 2/3 is not exactly the golden ratio split, but it follows it closely. Things that are split in half tend to not be interesting, but if you offset them in thirds, it tends to be a little bit more interesting. For this character, my biggest problem was the placement of her ears, specifically in profile view. On this, her ears look a little crooked and they seem to kind of just float strangely on her head. If these ears were correct, her head would have been tilting towards us with the chin pointing away from us. But we don't want that in a profile. Cheating perspective is a common thing in character design. For example, take a look at Mickey Mouse. Whenever he moves his head, his ears are always in the same position. However, for this character, Having the ears tilting in the correct position shows more of the face and gives us a better profile. My fix for her ears was to draw out her 3D head. And from there, I would figure out where the ears will be placed in space. When I place them, I think, are they closer to the viewer? Or are they going to be farther away from the viewer? Is there anything that's going to be overlapping her ears, like her head? Again, like her best friend, her hands lack design. So in order to fix that, I would use the same fix as her other friend. Have a straight and counter it out with a curve. Because hands are a major tool for characters to express their emotions and thoughts, it is important to have this planned out. Alright, and those are the tips that I have for this character designer. Hopefully these tips are helpful in your character designing adventures. So those are some red flags you should be looking for before handing in your test. Hope you find these tips helpful and you will use them on your next character design test.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.